high five.
Packers jumping around, they rush 4. Plenty of time for John, now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run, inside the 10, head first, he flies off the 5-yard line.
Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
Rushing 4, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Here we go. First snap of the overtime. The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiff arm got him free to the 30. To the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the 5280 podcast. We're a fan-led Broncos-based live pod every Tuesday on the MHRT Network. Our network's other shows are the Wild Wild West on Wednesdays at 7:30, 6:30, 5:30, and 4:30. The Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast on Thursdays at 7, 6, 5, 4. And Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill on Friday. And tonight we are thrilled to welcome the founder of Benchwarmer Brew Coffee, as well as the creator and host of the immensely popular That's Good Sports YouTube channel, which he describes as the Daily Show, but for football. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Perna.
I like the Benchwarmer Brew intro. I always got to plug that coffee because profit margins are slim. Very slim.
I got to ask about that, Perna. What made you want to roll out a coffee brand like that?
One, I love coffee, so that's the first thing. But a friend of mine started the company, and I sort of just begged him to let me be part of it because he works with like much bigger like creators than what I do, but he wanted a sports brand for the coffee. And so he created the company with the idea to like have people who have YouTube channels or social media followings that they could, kind of cultivate their own coffee and then sell it. So after months of me asking him when he could make it work, he broke. And now we've got 3 blends of it. It's all like, ethically sourced. Every order we sell, like donation goes through the Faya Foundation. So it's like very positive company, unlike everything else I do.
So Brandon, the news of the day is that Tom Brady is going to be, I know, ironically on the day you're here, they announced a $375 million deal for this guy. Like and Bree, just look at her backdrop there. So she's relishing seeing him for another 15 years or so. What's your take on that, and how do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to suck. Have you ever listened to him? He's one of the most boring people on earth. Great at football, but I don't trust him in the booth. He's not funny. His social media is funny now, but that's not him. Mm-hmm. It's 300. It was like just levels of worse throughout the day. Like, oh God, as soon as he retires, we get force-fed more Brady. And then you find out how much money they're going to give him. And you're like, good Lord. I'm sure he'll I would be interested to listen to him talk about some of the X's and O's of the game. Might be a little tough for him without Josh McDaniels in his ear or Belichick, but I would like to see what he actually knows. But I guess to be fair, nobody thought Tony Romo was going to be very good, right? And now people love him. And wasn't Jay Cutler supposed to be in the booth at some point?
He was in there for like
a couple games, and he was good.
A couple games. That one didn't make sense because, if I'm going to give Tom Brady crap, At Cutler's, you're like personality in the booth. I don't know. So I think like if I'm being honest, like my only knock is I just don't know how entertaining he'll be, and I like to be entertained. But I sat through Dan Fouts and I like Troy Aikman, but the only reason Brady's getting this because him and Buck left Fox, so now I got to hate them again. It's we'll see. I do so many live streams during the games now. I don't even listen to the announcers, so I probably won't be told. I just want him to go away for a while. Like if I would have had a year off, it would have been so much better. I would have handled the news like a mature adult. Now
I had to watch your Lego video today just to warm up for today's show.
Warmed up. I mean, what do you guys think about it?
I think he's entertaining when he tweets or is on screen for like a short clip, but anything I've ever seen with him over 30 seconds is almost unbearable to watch. Then at that point, he's just Tom Brady, and you're just kind of looking at him try to say something funny. Like anytime on Fallon or like on Entourage or something, it just looked like someone gave him a line to read. And I feel like with this, no one's giving him a line to read, and he's just going to look interesting. But at least he knows what he's talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can fake it when you know the game, when you've played the game for 100 straight years.
Yeah. As long as we don't get any more like up the short shots,
well,
I'll make it.
I think I'll take more of those actually.
Oh, all right. Well.
So I got to ask you, Brandon.
Not enough deflated footballs, I feel like.
Along with the lines, obviously, with Brady going to Fox, how much of it, I guess you could say, is also the competitive side with it. So obviously, we all know that the Manning cast is on the ESPN side of things, and we all know about the playing rivalry between, Manning and Brady. I mean, is it possible that maybe there was a competitive advantage, and maybe why he wanted to go to the booth?
Maybe, yeah. He was on the Manning cast this last season, right? Did he stop by there?
Yeah.
I thought that was actually interesting. But I kind of just like that laid back sort of dynamic between like guys who've played the game. And I think Eli is like really underrated in terms of being like the actual, like really funny person in that setup. But maybe there's a competitive part to it. It's probably just him figuring out what he wants to do once he actually retires. And that's that's a big way to make money. I think a lot of premier athletes now are trying to get to that $1 billion mark, like become billionaires. And this is probably a step towards that. Like he has TB12 and then the Brady brand where he sells like $60 t-shirts that just say Brady on them. So I'm sure it was more the money. He was probably like, wait, how much will you pay me to sit there? Okay. Yep.
It was crazy because you look initially at the contract, right? And you're thinking, oh, this is like a standard Major League Baseball contract, right? Because it was just like that feels like a deal that's been handed out to like all these superstars in baseball is like like 10 years, $375 million. And you're just like, oh, they handed it out to a broadcaster. And I guess, not just any broadcaster, like the greatest quarterback of all time. So, I mean,
that's debatable.
I mean, come on, is it really? I think the competitive nature also pulls it really. You can't step away from the game, and if you realize that after all this time you can't step away from it again,
I have to open that door.
Come on.
Depends on what you like in a quarterback.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
I think he's the greatest at defying age, and he has the most Super Bowl wins. That's enough for some people, the Super Bowl wins. But personally, 53 guys need a good roster. Super Bowl's a team stat. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to just go off on Brady on this Broncos podcast. Go Russell Wilson. He's the true best quarterback in the NFL right now.
So, Brandon, are you still finding Legos in the garage these days, or has that?
I haven't for a while. I think most are cleared out, but my child picks up everything off the ground. So as it gets warm, I'm sure if there's one in there, she'll find it.
If you have any that you can give to Bree as a souvenir, that would be much appreciated for sure.
Oh yeah, I've got some. I saved a part of it. The eyes. Dude, cold, dead eyes.
I have the same one. It's crazy.
Oh, that's great.
Perna, I did have one important question for you that I've always wanted to ask you. Where on That's Good Sports, where are you pulling your stock footage from?
Oh, you mean like for like the transitions?
Yeah.
There's been a couple stock websites.
Oh, okay. It looked like a very specific place. It's just a trend. I felt.
Yeah, no, there's like if you search through some stock websites, you'll be surprised at what you find.
Okay.
I was like, let me look up. I was like sports, and then I saw just like really cheesy stuff, and then you click on one, and then it pops up all this other stuff. I'm like, let me just see the weirdest shit I can find in there, and
yeah.
Now it's just part of it. Were you referring to a specific one?
No, just all of them just kind of hang in my brain. So I just wanted to see if there was a specific website that you were going to, because they're just, they're good stuff. That's all I got to say about it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I got to ask, obviously, with That's Good Sports and obviously the other stuff, did you ever, it's kind of an easy question, I guess, maybe, or a hard question to answer, but did you ever in a million years think you would be this successful with it? Like with everything that you're doing?
Yes,
That's Good
from
Sports?
day one. Day one. Honestly, I'm surprised I'm not more successful yet. No, I mean, it's weird because I started it with like the intention of trying to turn it into something, but that's because I worked around so many people who were doing it, not in sports, but like I was around all these successful YouTubers, and I was like, I want to do that instead of working my butt off to help them grow their own stuff.
Right.
And if I'm being honest, like it was way harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'm going in, this will be season 10, I think, 10 years of doing it. So like, I'm surprised at how sports has sort of embraced it, because the sports leagues were not about it early on. It was just different. And even like the tone of sports media is a lot more lighthearted, and people kind of embrace being funny, and like that's everybody, like from Ian Rappaport to like, it's just a different landscape. I'm not where I want to be with it yet, but so yes and no. It's just it's a journey, and there's so many times I was like middle of the night, what am I doing? Like, am I really going to, try and buy a house and I'm making no dollars as a man? Like, I was scared, but if you just, like anything, if you keep chipping away at it, all of a sudden it's like this machine. You're just like, okay, now how do I make it better? Where do we go from here? And, there's like a loose plan, and then that goes out the window, and you just kind of try to embrace what you see is working and go along with it. But yes, I thought I would be this successful. And I say that as somebody who doesn't think I'm that successful yet.
Is there a favorite premise or joke from the last 9 years that really stands out to you that you're most proud of, or
No, I mean, there's so many. I feel like I repeat myself. Like I'll accidentally like try to find something in an old episode, and like I'm trying to pull a clip, and then I see a part of it, and I'm like, oh, I kind of just made that same joke again a week ago. So it's more like trying to think of new ones is where I go. I think, oh man, one joke I always really liked was I said I was in the Broncos locker room and I confused Trindon Holiday for Orlando Franklin's penis, and it was like a really good episode, and I thought that joke was really good. But you know, you never know. Like I don't know if anybody thought that was funny, but I certainly did.
Clearly, we think it's funny, right? Yeah, we're
I
laughing.
mean, that's a good one.
Right.
So I really hope Trindon Holiday comes back.
I will say on my way out, or on our way out with my fiance to play football with you guys, I had to show my fiance like one of your videos because I was explaining to who was going to be doing, like, because you know
you're trying to put her in the mood.
Yeah. Well, the first video that I popped up, one of the Manscaped ads at the beginning.
That'll do the trick.
You had nothing but your skivvies on and were doing things to your desk. And she was like, "This is who you're gonna go hang out with, huh?"
She's like, "Can we go home? Can we not do this thing, please? Please."
But,
are there any plans for your daughter to maybe succeed you in the taking over the podcast? I mean, she's young, but you can get them started relatively quickly.
Yeah, she's already saying Bronco. Every time I've got a Bronco shirt, she points it out. So I'm training her. Honestly, like, I don't want to give her this crap show of a burden. But if she was into it and she was into sports, it would be so awesome to just be like, okay, you take over doing this. See how much fun it is after a year. But yeah, I mean, like, I would love it. But you got to really like football. You know what I mean?
Very specific, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know. She's young. I've thought about it. It's probably kind of crazy.
Oh, Pat.
Child labor. Oh no, she's gonna work for me for sure.
Yeah.
As soon as she's old enough to learn how to edit, yeah. So probably the amount of work I'll make her do for me, she'll be like, "There's no way I am ever doing any of this." Hopefully, she sees me doing this crap and is totally just like turned off of like social media and TikTok and any of that stuff. Like, I hope that happens.
She like reads a book or something. That's cool.
And she like just goes out and like lives life in the real world. You know, that'd be awesome.
I don't, but that's cool.
Brandon, apparently the Paytons and the Hackett's went to the Derby together this past weekend. I'd love to see like a dramatic recreation of Nathaniel Hackett when Rich Strike overtook and won the race.
Oh man, he'd be so excited. I feel like his energy is awesome. It's refreshing. Did he say he went with Peyton? Went with the Mannings?
No, George.
Oh, George Payton.
Yeah.
Too many Paytons. I gotta
Right.
Oh, dang it. I just want to see Peyton Manning's head next to a horse's
forehead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Manning's part of one of the mystery groups touring the Broncos over the next few weeks or whatever?
So
or is he out? Is he out?
I think that he's waiting until basically the group is picked to pop in, so he's not selecting one that could potentially not make it. But
just joins the winner. That's
something
smart.
like that.
Yeah. Peyton's already got it figured out in that head of his.
What do you think of the candidates for ownership and the $5 billion price tag? Any thoughts?
Insane. I don't know. I hope whoever it is realizes that George Payton's probably pretty good at his job and doesn't come in and try to change everything. I'm really excited about George Payton moving forward. And I mean, landing Russell Wilson obviously was huge, but one draft that felt really good. It seems like he really values and respects players and is never going to be like a general manager that players don't want to play for. It was a nice succession to John Elway, who I think gets way too much crap for what he did. But, towards the end there, I don't know. if he was, all in on the job. And I think him getting out of it showed that he was ready to go. But if you get some guy, like, billionaires are hard to predict. If one of them comes in and they want to just do their own thing and mess up kind of what feels like we're finally building for a positive long-term future, that's the only thing that scares me. I don't know. Walton, I just don't like, if the Broncos are bad and everybody's just going to be like, they're going to call us the Denver Walmarts and it's going to suck. Because we won't have a comeback for that.
No.
But he's got the money, and if he's willing to spend it, that could also help your team. The 76ers, I talked to a Sixers fan. They're not really a big fan of their ownership, so I don't know if I'm sold on that, even if Magic Johnson's a part of it. So I don't know. I just wish it was me.
God. I could see that.
$5 billion, and I'll spend it all on the Broncos.
How would you change the uniform? Since it seems like that's what all anybody wants of the new ownership is to change the uniform, which won't necessarily be a good thing.
I change it to red and yellow, just like the Chiefs.
Okay. Well, it was nice having you on.
I just want to know. Go ahead.
Go back to the old D. You get the old D. You get the old blue. And the old D mock-ups with the dark blue too, those are pretty cool. But your Russell Wilson Photoshop, that's it. That's it right there.
That's what I want, man.
That's what I want too.
Nothing like the old D.
Would you support my cause for bringing Blucifer to the front of the stadium?
Oh, hell yeah.
There we go. That's all that matters.
I mean, that thing killed the guy who was creating it. Like, you put that horse over the opposing team's locker room.
Kill all of them. Yeah.
Or curse them.
Oh, yeah.
Curse them, but
Yeah,
that'd be intimidating. Yeah, that story's crazy, but
get
him, and then just bring the giant blue bear down too for no reason.
The one that's staring into every single soul in DIA.
I did wonder about that. What does that have to do with anything? When I was in Colorado, I saw that. I was wondering what that has to do with anything.
What, the bear or the mural?
The bear, the big bear that's leaning up against a building.
Well, we got bears. We got bears here.
That's it. Oh, okay. I thought it was like sports related, but none of the sports team. Okay, fair enough.
The only one that I know of is like there's one that's like, I don't know if he was leaning up against it, but they do have that like in the convention center. Like I think it's like one that's like doing the same thing where he's like looking inside the convention center. I don't know the purpose of it, but
it's huge.
Yeah,
art doesn't need a purpose. It just is.
You just got to experience it, man.
Brandon, I know we only have you for a couple more minutes, but I wanted to ask you about the Christmas Day game and even the Nickelodeon game at the Rams. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I saw that this morning and I go, well, there goes my Christmas. There goes me spending time with my family on that day.
Yeah.
And it's like at 2:30. It's like usually when we're right in the middle of what we do for Christmas. So I might like be streaming that from my parents' house or something dumb. The Nickelodeon game on Christmas seems like a little too much. I like the Nickelodeon games. Like I like that they're doing that, even though the kids do not know how to vote for MVPs to save their life.
Trubisky,
God,
man, what are you talking
they're
about?
so stupid. That's why we don't let them vote. But, like if I didn't have to do my job, I would be like, oh, this is awesome. Like I can put on the football game that I'm interested in. And if I'm ignoring my family on Christmas, I've got a great excuse.
Right.
Like, I think fans are going to like it. Anybody who's trying to work or make videos about it, I was like, But Christmas is on Sunday, which I didn't realize. So there's probably going to be is there going to be a lot of football on that day?
3 games.
Just 3? Are they playing like the other ones Saturday or something?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's TBD.
Yeah, because if it's on Sunday, that's normal football day.
Yeah. That is normal football day. Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened before. Every 7 years or so. I just can't remember.
Every eclipse.
Right.
Brandon, it's been awesome having you. Thank you so much for joining us. You brought so many laughs. I mean, I was literally crying, and I'll never look at
five. I counted 5 laughs.
5 total.
I meant cumulatively over time. But
no, thank you for having me.
It's been great.
And for accommodating me. I know I was supposed to come on last week. I had to push it, but I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. No problem. We made a big deal about that.
Good. Yeah. I hope you guys ripped me. This unreliable, narcissistic prick shafted us.
Mm-hmm.
We usually just save that description for Boggins, but
that's true.
Pretty sure.
I thought I was the only one to have it, but that's fine. You can spread it around, whatever.
Great, anyway, Brandon. We'll have a great rest of the night. Thanks again.
You too.
Thanks, Perna.
Thank you, buddy.
Oh, love that guy. Good dude. All
Trinidad Holiday. Okay.
I could see it though. I could see it.
I don't. No? I recommend everyone listening just to not envision it. That's probably the best.
I'm gonna bang it after this. Actually.
Mike leaves us alone for one day, and this is what happens.
One day.
Yeah.
Everything goes away.
We're gonna Control Alt Delete that from memory.
So when Cam said TBD on the schedule, we're awfully close to finding out the full layout of the games. But so that's Thursday that the full release.
We've got enough leaks happening though.
Right. So far, we know for sure too. We got Week 8 in London versus Jacksonville at the end of October. We'll have the bye Week 9, and then Week 16 at the Rams. I was originally thinking that would be an opening day game. The Thursday night is a possibility, but I'll take Christmas Day.
Yeah, I would. I feel like you gotta figure that the week before the London game might be a Thursday night game as well. So that's another primetime game that we're potentially going to get. I mean, we could potentially have 5 primetime games. I mean, they used to load it up with like Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is 72, I think now. So he might just fall over dead during a game. No one wants to see that on primetime. So you might just get a lot of Broncos this season.
Do you think they would flex any additional games too, depending on how the AFC West starts to shake out towards the end of the season?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have a lot of really rough Monday mornings, I think.
Yeah.
Eric Dalala had, I don't know if you've seen it, he predicted the layout of the games on denverbroncos.com, and he had quite a few national games. It is it's exciting. I mean, we were scraped together we originally just had one last year with the Browns on a Thursday night, and then ended up with Kansas City at the end of the year. But my goodness, it's going to be pretty exciting.
And I'm really looking forward to the Rams game because, I mean, you're talking about a game, and obviously it's on Christmas Day, so the emotions are going to be even higher. But I mean, the fact that it's like Week 16, that could actually be a pivotal game too, to even separate yourself like from playoff, for going into the playoffs, and of course, too, like to even get you ready for the playoffs as a tune-up with the Super Bowl champs. Like, honestly, it's a pretty nice game to have. But I think as far as the fact that you do have games in London, it's really smart to have a bye, and then if they choose to certainly do a Thursday game, I think the way it is, scheduling wise, if that is true, it schedules out really perfectly for the Broncos to kind of have like a mini bye, then to London, and then have their full on bye week.
I think we're all in agreement that that'll probably be the bye week is Week 9, right? And then as we've been on Twitter, we all are. We see the basically the diagnosis of the season is the Denver Broncos are basically one of the highest traveling teams throughout many different time zones, and their strength of schedule is actually kind of middle of the pack, which was surprising to me because I don't think that really plays into the formula for that. Do you think that's going to cause any issues? Could you see that actually kind of thrusting them up into the top half of the harder schedules this season?
I always take those kind of with a grain of salt anyways, because, I mean, you never know how a team's going to come out the next season. But also, I mean, I feel like the teams have been, or at least last year, were really good about I was it when we went to, did we play Miami last year? I remember if it was last year or the year before. We got to Miami like early, like a day early, so they had more time to kind of acclimate to like the temperature because it was supposed to be so hot down there. So I feel like they would do essentially the same thing, just kind of be able to get down there earlier and acclimate to the time at least. But I don't know. I could definitely see it being more tough because no one wants to be jet lagged like crazy and then have to be one of the most athletic people in the entire planet.
Did Cam leave to like hang up a photo behind him after he got criticized for his backdrop?
I don't know. He pieced out. He was a spy.
I think he had DoorDash. I think he had to go get. There's a thing there.
So this leaves a real possibility that the opening week is the Sunday night game at Seattle, and Boggins, you'll be going to that game, right? So it's like,
yeah, that's the plan.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that should
unless I mean, if it's already going to be expensive enough, and if it's a primetime game, So I've already told the lady that I'm going to be spending a lot of money that day. So it's just got to happen. It's a once in a lifetime thing. So
I think it would be a really fun game to go to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm going to skip out, so I don't have to see Patrick Quixote. That's just a personal reason.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
Mm-hmm. Had to
boys.
A question for you all. Since you said you take that kind of as a grain of salt for the strength of schedule, I knew we were kind of going to talk about where that stands as far as the AFC West goes. And, obviously Alex dropped the news earlier today that we actually will be playing each member of the AFC West twice this season. It's shocking. I had no idea. How do you think that fares as far as where do the Broncos shake out there? Have you guys started to kind of assess what their record is going to be, or are we still kind of, thinking through those?
I don't remember who it was that posted. Here it is. Jason La Canfora.
La Canfora.
Yeah, totally know who that is. I don't. They had guesstimated that the Broncos will be in the wild card along with the Chargers and then the Kansas City Chiefs winning the AFC West. I know that technically, since they are the reigning champs of our division, that they should be on top, but I don't think people realize how big of a deal it was that they lost Tyreek Hill. And their offense also did not look super great for
neither did their defense.
Yeah. I mean, that's just always not. Yeah. So I honestly think the Broncos have a decent shot at taking the division, especially because we stomped the Chargers last year. And then the second game we played them, we had 11 players out, so it wasn't even fair. So I personally think there's a good shot that the Denver Broncos could take it. Just kind of depends on how well the chemistry is. Depending, I guess it depends on when we play each other. But I think if it's later in the season, kind of like it was this last year, it'll give us a better shot at being more in sync.
Yeah.
Speaking of in sync, the not the band. Don't get excited.
Come on now.
I was going to say is I was listening to Broncos Country tonight, and Albright mentioned that Russell, one of the reasons they bought that property is that he's going to put a field in his backyard like he has in San Diego. So he's going to do that in Denver to sync up with his players too. So I think there's just so much value in the fact that these guys have been spending so much time together. And it sounded like Tim Patrick indicated that they were going to go a couple more times, it sounds like, to San Diego. So I think we're in great shape. And And when I'm hearing people saying 10 wins, and to me, I'd almost be let down if we only had 10 wins out of a 17-game season. I mean, I'm thinking 12.
And I know that we've mentioned this point before that, don't be surprised if the Broncos can if they come out to a little bit of a slow start. Well, if they don't, and the Pistons are fine from week 1 to the end of the regular season, we can 110% attribute a lot of that to the fact that they were putting in all that work behind the scenes on the football field, with, Russ Wilson's, location of doing that work with Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler and Cortland Sutton and all that work with Alberto. And so I think that, it's a big deal when you can put that type of extra effort and even if, say, like the Pistons aren't exactly firing, those little things certainly matter even beyond a football field. And like it matters just for the simple fact about professionalism and how Russell Wilson has operated really since day one as quarterback.
So Bree, right now, what do you see it as? What's your prediction? Have you been going through the opponents and making your guess?
No, I'm not ready for an official wins-loss record. I think I think I agree a lot with what Boggin said. Is the Chiefs were beatable last season, and I think they've lost a lot, but they also did really well in the draft. The Chiefs know what they're doing. They had the most picks overall. I'd even venture to say they probably did just a better job than the Broncos did, which kind of just elevates them a bit over the Broncos. I'm obviously thinking Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders, just with how it all kind of shook out in the offseason with the losses and the acquisitions. I think the loss of Tyreek Hill is going to affect them quite tremendously just because of where his utilization was. And it was a crutch for Mahomes. And we've had this conversation before. So I think the Chiefs are beatable, but I think they're still the one you want to watch out for, because until that plays out on the field, I don't really know how I feel about moving the Broncos all the way up. But because of that blockbuster trade with Russell Wilson, it's hard. I'd be hard pressed to not believe in that. And I think a lot of that is excitement. And I think I'm always really risk adverse. So I don't want to get too hyped up for they're going to be a completely different team, but they already are a completely different team. And I think you're going to see with the addition of Peyton, Hackett, Wilson, it has just been steamrolling shockwaves, and it's difficult to argue against this new era of the Denver Broncos. So I'd be shocked if they don't win more than 10. I think I'm just too afraid to jump fully in that. So once the season, comes out, I'll be able to take a little bit of a deeper look, but I'm really shocked. And I just need to put it out there because I know we're going to be talking, about the power rankings of the AFC West, that the Raiders were able to continuously Raider, and they will continuously do so because Derek Carr's Derek Carr. I'm unimpressed. You know that. Meanwhile, they had the least amount of acquisition in the draft because of the Adams trade. They announced they wouldn't be picking up all those fifth-year options for their 2019 draft. Their organization is completely in shambles, and I think they're going to be the odd man out. They're just going to miss out, and that is no orange glasses take. I just honestly think they're going to be the ones sitting on the outside, which, they kind of lucked their way in the last time.
I mean, the president being let go and the statement that was made, I've never seen such a flimsy statement with no explanation. And then when he comes out and gives the explanation why he was let go, that Mark Davis was not behaving well, allegedly. I mean, I think you're right, Bree. I think that they should be the odd man out just by virtue of the fact that there's so much going on behind the scenes. So many people are leaving. It's just a very weird shift that goes on there, and that didn't end when they moved from Oakland, and it's not ending anytime soon, I don't think, with this as well. So.
Yeah, and I think that the 10 wins is a pretty fair, prediction currently right now. I'd say it's the floor. I'd say 10 is the floor, but I think it's fair, especially and Bree put it best as far as with the schedule until we actually see for ourselves what the actual schedule will entail. And I'm sure that they've all been notified as far as what the schedule is at this particular point. Now it's just a matter of having it be officially announced on the 12th. But I think that 10 wins is still pretty fair. And we all know that, that's still a drastic improvement in what we've seen, in years prior. So I think that, if we can, get to that 10-win, benchmark, and then plus, a little bit more than that, I think you're talking about, a really solid, group. And even if they win 10 games, it just depends on, when they get to that. Because if there's momentum going up and, they're winning all these games into the playoffs, and they're, 10-6 or whatever, like a 10-7 or whatever, or I can't remember if they're doing 18 weeks again this year, but I think that, if you have that type of momentum going into the postseason, it really doesn't matter. If all the Pistons are firing heading into the postseason, that's the best of both worlds right there.
So who would be your dream or your preferred opponent for the home opener?
Chiefs.
I've got to go with Seattle.
No, I'm at home opener.
Oh. Chiefs.
Yeah. I got to say Chiefs.
I'd like to get it early.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Bree.
No. Go ahead. I was confused for a second.
I think there's a lot of receivers still on that Chiefs roster that haven't played with Patrick Mahomes necessarily yet. I mean, I get that neither has Russ and our receivers, but I like our setup better. So I would like to get them early.
And I think that quietly, and before I dipped out, I don't know if this is, what you guys were talking about. I had internet issues, but I think that, one of the things that I think I'm very interested in watching for is where are the conference games lined up? Because it's like, last year you had the conference games, a majority of them lined up right after the bye week, which, I mean, depending on how the Broncos played, that would have set up really nicely, going to the playoffs if that, was so their wish, and we all know that never happened. But I think that if you have it split out, and spread out, evenly, I think that would be much, much better as far as, having it be like one-sided, in the first half of the season versus the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think I want them to start the season against the Raiders just for the things that I outlined previously. If we're taking into consideration that we still don't know what this Broncos team is capable of, whether or not they're firing on all cylinders or they come out, rabid from the start gate, I think it would be really interesting to see them take on the Raiders the first game. It's not the Chiefs. I get that we would want to get that out of the way. Sorry, I just got distracted by a comment. I think this is the worst. I'm like a squirrel, or I'm like a dog chasing a squirrel. I don't know how to pay attention. So I think Raiders would be the perfect opportunity for them to really get off to a momentous start. And I think that's what's important. And it always has been. I know the Broncos had quite this shaky season last year and the year prior. I think what they could really use is a strong start. And I think the Raiders would be the appropriate team to do so. I agree that, yes, the Chiefs getting that over and done with, but there's no guarantee it would be a win right now. I just really want to see them build up some momentum, take out a much less team. I'm just really rooting against the Raiders at this point, and kind of carry that forward and just see what cogs still need to fall into place in order to be successful this year.
All right. So a couple other things going on. We have rookie minicamp this weekend. What are you looking forward to? What do you think?
Just kind of see how those rookies look, in those Broncos helmets, right? I mean, that's probably first and foremost.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting time, and I think it's one that obviously the rookies themselves are going to be grinning ear to ear when they put on that Broncos helmet for the first time, or if they've not already. But I'm really excited to kind of see, what they do. And obviously, that's the first, public announcement, if you will, about how, aside from, when they were drafted, how the coaches and the staff and, Peyton feel about these rookies and potentially what they can be. But, the biggest thing, and Alex put it bluntly, is no injuries, right? I mean, that's like that's probably the biggest thing. No injuries.
We don't even talk about it.
Did I broadcast jinx this? Is that what I did?
Yes. And we're all gonna screen cap it, and then forever Cam will be known as the guy who jinxed the entire Broncos roster after they all broke their legs.
Well, it's good we have a lot of depth there, though. So across the board.
On Tuesday, yeah, that's true.
And then OTAs start 10 days later, so mandatory mini camp a few weeks after that, and then training camp late July, and most of the practices are going to be open to the public. I know Bree's planning on spending a lot of time out there, and Cam, hopefully you can make it out for a few as well. So that'd be great. Another free agent that became available, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on whether he makes sense for the Broncos to even make a phone call, but James Bradberry, the cornerback, was released by the New York Giants yesterday. 28 years old, has had good success, particularly when he was with the Panthers in the past. I feel like we're pretty good with cornerbacks, but what do you think?
I mean, I personally think that it might be a little too costly for it. I would like a cheaper option, but I mean, it really depends. Like having Russell Wilson on your team creates a lot more opportunities, not just on the field, and so he may take a discount to play a year. That would be great. Do I think it's going to happen? Not necessarily. I'd personally rather go for cheaper options, although I would love to add James Bradberry in the mix. It would just be a question of where he would fit.
Your cheaper option would have been probably Callahan, and you lose that to a division rival. And then, I mean, there's a potential that the Raiders could be interested in Bradberry, so you could see him go there. I don't know how he would fit in, but I don't think that the Broncos necessarily have the cap space either. And like you said, maybe he'd be willing to take a cut, but I don't. The room there is pretty deep, so I don't know. You can never have too many. I'm obviously from that school of thought. I just don't know if it's cost effective.
You guys took the words out of my mouth. I mean, it's one that you're not going to say no to it, but it's one, you just don't know if it's ever going to, happen, or if, with the depth and he might actually want more money. And so if that's possible that the Raiders can offer that, then he'll probably end up being a Raider, but I think that, it's one of those things too, that they also did draft 2 corners, and obviously it was a 7th rounder, from Wisconsin, but I mean, they still had they still took 2 corners in the draft. So I mean, they clearly, value, those 2 corners with this room they now have. So maybe they don't necessarily see it as a need. And, if Evero, who, is the defensive backs coach, coming in as the defensive coordinator, loves that room the way that it's currently constructed, I'm not going to, vote against it.
Let's see the couple more things. When we had Brandon on, one of the videos that he had done yesterday was the AFC West Power Rankings, and fortunately we didn't have time to go over with them on that. But his comments regarding the Raiders is that they didn't address the DBs. Chargers didn't address stopping the run. With KC, he said they're more mortal but well-rounded. And the one guy in particular that he referenced that scares him was Justin Ross. And Boggins, you've referenced that with us as well. Clemson wide receiver had a neck injury, and now he's been signed as an unrestricted free agent by the Chiefs. I mean, where does that stand as far as his health, and could that be the steal of free agency?
Absolutely. He could be a number 1 receiver in this league. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy. And that was the big, because it was a scary injury that you really got to worry about. So it's I don't know. I feel like the risk wasn't as high as reward. And I wish that Denver would have swung on that, would have tried to bring him in, because that would have been, man, if we would have got him in, I know we have a deep receiver core right now, but you add a healthy Justin Ross in there, who was considered one of the top receivers that potentially was going to come out of this draft. That would have been awesome. And so now it's a bummer that he's with Patrick Mahomes. That's like everybody else. Well, I didn't think it. They actually got Sky Moore too, didn't they?
Yeah,
they did.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. That's all just a real bummer. It's just a bummer. Don't like it.
It's an amalgamation of a lot of different things, I think, because it's like, and actually me and Pat have talked about this before, because it was just like he's so good that it was just like, a team could have taken advantage and drafted him, say day 2 and maybe even day 3 if they wanted to, but the fact is, if his injury is that bad and he went undrafted, maybe it is as serious. And at that particular point, it just takes one team to sign that particular player, and it just so happened that one team was the Kansas City Chiefs. And if he ends up making it big with that team with the Chiefs, then it's possible. But I think it still fares well with his health. If he can come in with the best shape of his life, well, then there's a very, very good chance that he will make that roster. And then if he will make that roster, then there's a very decent chance that he might even see some decent impact on the games going forward.
So Bree mentioned Callahan signing with the Chargers, but Kenny Young signed with the Raiders yesterday. Do you think he's going to do anything there, or Bloom really came off that rose shortly after his first game, where we were all excited about him? But do you see him having any sort of impact with that Raiders D?
It's kind of funny because I was going to say that it would be nice if Hackett kind of watched the tape from last year and how the Chiefs just game planned against Kenny Young, but I don't think Kenny Young is that much of a threat that they're going to necessarily do that.
Right.
He can definitely get exposed, and they showed that last year, and so I don't really worry about it too much. He's very see ball, get ball, kind of like an Alexander, like a lesser Alexander Johnson. So I'm honestly not too worried about it. They just brought back, or they brought in for a visit. Was it Kwiatkowski? Kwiatkowski, that's right. Who they just cut like last year or something, which is pretty funny.
I think they cut him
they cut him this year?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's even funnier then. I'm not too worried about Kenny Young, to be honest.
I mean, I feel like it's a solid depth piece and a decent May signing for them. I do question if he'll play a full season or if he'll actually see a lot of snaps. It didn't worry me, I guess, like some of the other ones. Like, I think a lot of people are discounting the loss of Callahan, and then, putting more emphasis elsewhere. But I think we're in line with speaking a lot towards if a player can stay healthy, right? If they're at the beginning of their career, you can see a lot more of that shakeout, as their years go on. I think I'm still salty about that. So I'm throwing that out there.
Cool. Well, we had, if you're just joining us now, we had Brandon Perna on for roughly the first half hour. So if you get a chance to watch that and check that out, that was great. And we thank him for joining us. I think it's probably a good time to wrap it up. We're kind of in that lull between things happening, but Thursday's going to be fun to find out the full schedule. But just to go over our lineup again, we have the Wild Wild West tomorrow with the AFC West fans at 7:30, 6:30, 5:30, and 4:30. Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue on Thursday night at 7, 6, 5, 4. So they're going to get a chance to. There's probably going to be a lot of leaked schedule that they're going to get a chance to talk about that night. So that's going to be a fun show. And then Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill on Friday. So we've got all that going on. But thanks for joining us tonight, and we certainly appreciate it. And we'll see you next Tuesday.